now, so hopefully that should be working. And just let a few more people in. Amy, you okay just to let people in as I'm talking on the next couple of slides? Thank you. So hi, nice to see everybody. There's some names there in the chat that I recognise, some names that I don't, so really nice that you've all joined us today, and I do hope that this webinar will be really useful for you. Can we just pop over on the next slide, please? So just before we kind of get into the sort of full details of the fund, which I know you're all here to hear, I just wanted to give a little bit of an overview about SNG. I'm mindful that some people on the call may not have had funding from SNG before, may not have heard of SNG before, so just want to give you a little bit of an overview of who we are. And at SNG, essentially we are committed to creating thriving and resilient communities over generations where everyone can reach their full potential. So that's our kind of overarching sort of goal at SNG. Just pop onto the next slide. Thank you. So we are a provider of housing, so we provide around 84,000 homes and invest in communities across the south, the west and east of England. So we have homes spanning from kind of Cornwall, Devon way, all the way across to London and up into East Hertfordshire. And obviously, as one of those existing homes, we're aiming to create thousands of new affordable homes every year. But we really recognise that homes are just the beginning. We're more than just bricks and mortar, and our social purpose is central to what we do. So we really want to deliver more for our customers that are living in our homes and also invest in those communities around where we have homes. So our core priority is around sort of creating equality, reducing poverty, improving wellbeing, quality of life of our customers and communities. And obviously one key way that we do that is by delivering grant funding directly into the heart of our communities. We have a real broad range of programmes and activities as well as part of our community investment offer, which may be of interest. We won't go into lots of detail today on this call, but we do have a lot of advice and support for our customers. So potentially you may be engaging with our sort of customers through the work that you do. We have a lot of support around employment and skills, digital inclusion, financial inclusion. So if you would like to find out a bit more about sort of our wider community investment offer, please do kind of reach out to us afterwards and we'll share those details with you. But yeah, we're really excited to be able to tell you about the Thriving Communities Fund. So I'm going to pass over to Deborah, who is going to go into the fund in a bit more detail.
Hi everybody. So I'm going to talk a little bit about both what the Thriving Communities Fund is, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the eligibility criteria and what we're looking for. So the Thriving Communities Fund is our main fund, grant funding for community groups within SNG, and it exists to provide place-based grants that empower local groups to take action and deliver cohesive, sustainable and resilient communities which people are proud to be part of. And this year the Thriving Communities Grant is set up a little different to previous years, so if you're aware of the grant you'll notice there's some differences. This year, the grants will cover across our full geography of where we have homes and be split into two separate grants based on themes. The first grant is the Strengthening Place Grant, and that grant will focus on a broad range of themes, which include health, wellbeing, social inclusion, ageing well and young people, community safety, and environment and sustainability. And I'll go into some more detail of exactly what sorts of projects we're looking for within that theme. The second is the Skills and Learning Grant, and that one will focus on community digital support, financial skills and resilience, family learning, and food education. Okay, and again, like I say, that will stretch across our whole geography. The funding available is, there's different grant sizes depending on which grant is the best fit for your organisation. Our Strengthening Place Grant will give grants between £1,000 and £7,500. And our Skills and Learning Grant will give grants of around £1,000 to £5,000. And just so you're aware, the sort of average grant size we've given in the past is around the sort of £3,800 to £4,000 mark. One of the really key things, and you'll hear it repeated through this webinar, is that we're really keen to support projects that deliver services within an SNG community. And within your application, it's really crucial that you evidence how funding will benefit and engage SNG customers. And we'll go on to talk about how you can look to evidence that slightly later on. The fund opened on the 23rd of June, and the fund will close on the 30th of January 2026. But we have to caveat with that if all the funds are allocated, and we will give due notice if that is the case, but we're looking to keep it as a rolling fund till the end of January 2026. Within that time period, there's going to be 3 different windows where we'll look at shortlisting applications and taking them to panel. So any applications that have been received between Monday the 23rd of June and up to Monday the 14th of July will be considered in our August panel. Applications from 15th of July to the 30th of September will be considered in our panel in October. And applications from Wednesday the 1st of October till Friday the 30th of January will be considered in our February 2026 panel. So I think it's really important you have a think about when you want to deliver your project and bear that in mind and reflect that with these timelines, because we can't fund anything that's retrospective. So just bear in mind those timelines. And as we said, if we're oversubscribed and we need to close early, we will communicate it largely through our website and social media. And we'll communicate that ideally with 1 month's notice to everybody. I'm going to talk now a little bit about what the themes are within each group, within each grant, and give you an idea of the sorts of projects we're looking to fund. Okay, and again, really critical that you must demonstrate your project might be amazing, but it's really critical that you also demonstrate the benefit to SNG customers and communities. Okay, the first one, Strengthening Place grant, is going to fund three separate themes. The first is community safety, the second is environment and sustainability, and the third is health, well-being and social inclusion. And it's really key to say that all of those 3 groups also stretch across young and old. So whatever sort of age, we'll be looking for projects that target all sort of ages within that. So the first topic is community safety, and we're looking for projects that have innovative approaches to tackling antisocial behaviour, projects that look at crime reduction and safer neighbourhoods. The second is environment and sustainability, and within that we're looking for projects that foster lasting place-based improvements to local communities, support local nature recovery, and galvanise community action on climate change and nature and enhancing biodiversity. That was a bit of a mouthful, sorry. And lastly, health, wellbeing and social inclusion. And that we're looking for projects that create communities where people can feel well and live well, investing in the development of more inclusive and age-friendly communities, encouraging and supporting young people to achieve their aspirations and transition from where they are to where they want to be, providing mental health support or promoting mental and emotional health, including holistic activities such as creative arts to build confidence or reduce stigma around mental health and mental health challenges, improving the health of communities, and that's promoting healthy habits, proactive prevention through exercise, grassroots sports and other activities. And lastly, bringing communities together for improved community cohesion and improving connections across generations. So that's within our Strengthening Place grant, which has grants between £1,000 and £7,500. The second part is our Skills and Learning grant. And again, key to demonstrate the benefit to SNG customers and communities. That's got 4 pots within it. Community digital support, and we're looking for projects that focus on increasing community access to digital skills, equipment and connectivity, enabling people to get online. And this could be group digital skills sessions, or it could also be one-to-one support. The next is family learning. So that's projects that support learning for the whole family, enabling adults and children to learn and thrive. Then it's financial skills and resilience. So they're projects that focus on developing financial skills and resilience, increasing income.
Sorry.
Sorry, could you just pop yourself on mute? Brilliant. Sorry about that. I'll go through that again. Financial skills and resilience. That's projects that focus on developing financial skills and resilience, increasing income and reducing debt for those in financial hardship. We're specifically interested in funding community-based group money coaching and resilience courses. And on this one, we're unable to fund one-to-one debt advice. And lastly, food education. So they're projects which focus on developing knowledge and skills for cooking, eating well, and affordable nutrition. Okay. As you've heard, a recurring theme, we talk about our SNG communities, and Hannah outlined sort of the geography that we cover from Cornwall through to sort of London and East Hertfordshire. Later on in the presentation, we'll provide you a link, and it will be in the follow-up email as well, which shows a map where you can see our SNG communities. By going through, you can put in your postcode, you can put in where your project's based, and you'll be able to see what the SNG community is around where your project is. We also say, speak to us. Speak to us and find out what's local to you, what's going on near you. And we also have community investment partners who you can also speak to and engage with to find out what other work is going on in the community and to see how you can engage with SNG. So even if you're not engaging with SNG communities at the moment, there's absolutely a pathway to be able to do that and make sure that comes across in your application. Next, I'm just going to go through the eligibility criteria. There's quite a lot of detail, so I'll whiz through it, but it is all in our application guidance and it's all on our website, and we will send it out to you afterwards. And if you're unsure if you're eligible, please just contact us and we can help assist you with that. So the first thing to say is that community groups will only be awarded one Thriving Communities grant in 25-26. So that can mean that you can either hold a Strengthening Place grant or a Skills and Learning grant. And we would recommend that you only apply to one grant pot. If you've already been awarded a Thriving Communities grant in 24-25, any new application must be for distinct delivery or evidence need for continuation. So if you're already holding a Thriving Communities grant, you can apply, but we would recommend that you speak to the grants team if you have an existing relationship with SNG, just so we can advise you whether the project would be eligible to hold a second grant in 25-26. And the funding can be used to cover things like equipment relating to the activities, but it cannot be more than 25% of the budget. It can cover staffing costs, it can cover volunteer costs or expenses, and it can cover transport costs, venue hire, and any other direct project costs. We also allow for 10% of the total budget to be allocated to core costs or overheads. Okay, and that's all on the application guidance. And as a group to be eligible, we ask that you're a not-for-profit, a registered charity, a CIO, a CIC limited by guarantee. You can be a community or voluntary group. You can be a community benefit society or a social enterprise. But there are some key things that you have to have within that framework. And that is that you must have a written constitution or a governing document. And you must have a minimum of 3 on your management committee or as a trustee, 2 of whom are unrelated. So that means you must have 3 on your committee or your trustee board and at least 2 unrelated. And secondly, just to say, you must have a bank account in your name with 2 unrelated signatories. We would ask you have all your policies up to date, safeguarding, health and safety, GDPR. We don't ask you to provide them with your application, but we may request them afterwards when we seek more information and do due diligence. We don't set an upper organisational limit, but we will prioritise smaller grassroots, locally embedded groups. But that's not to say we won't look at applications from bigger groups if it's relevant and fits really well within what we're trying to achieve. And again, just as we said, if you have an existing funding relationship with SNG, we will consider that a panel, but only in the context of an information share and making sure the projects aren't double funded from different pots. So it doesn't rule you out at all. You're absolutely welcome to apply. And equally, we welcome applications from new groups to SNG. And like we said, if you're not sure how you're serving an SNG community or where you fit, or or you'd like to expand more into SNG communities, just have a conversation with us and we can support you to connect you. And I'm going to hand over to Amy. Amy's going to run through how our funding platform works and then talk a little bit about next steps.
Thanks, Deborah. So yeah, I'm going to go through a bit about how to like physically apply and then kind of what happens next. So we work with Action Funder to accept applications and to award funding. We've been working with them for nearly 2 years now, and they are a digital engagement platform that links funders to not-for-profit organisations. So the way that it works is, as a community organisation, you would have set up a profile for your organisation on the Action Funder platform, and then from that profile you can create a number of different projects on there. And then as a funder, we would also have an organisational profile, and then we can then set up different funds from that profile. And the idea is that Action Funder will match the project with a fund, and it gives, it's sort of, the aim is to make that kind of funding process a lot simpler, a lot easier. And it also means that you can put one project on there, but you might match with multiple different funds. So hopefully it would save you time as well by putting a project on there, so you're not making lots of separate applications. Each project will have then its own page with a project pitch on it, which we were that's kind of the application. So I'll go into more detail about that in a minute. This is your main page. Thanks, Deborah. This is your main page. So once you're set up on the Action Funder platform, and you've created a project, this is kind of like your dashboard. This is what you would see. So you can see this organisation in the middle there. They've set up a CAT project here, and then on the left hand side you can see all of the funds that they've been matched to, where it says eligible funding opportunities. In the top right hand corner there, that is the button create project. So that's where you would go to create a project. And then if we could just go on to the next slide, I'll just talk a bit about what that looks like, what that project looks like, and the information that we are asking for. So you would click on create project, and then these are the 3 main questions that you will be asked. So this is like the main body of the project pitch, so the main body of the application. So the 3 questions are, what is the problem or the need? So that's a good opportunity to give a bit of background information, to talk about what's happening in your community and what the need is there, what's going on. Then the second question is, what is the solution? So that is an opportunity to talk about the project. So what is your project? What are you going to be delivering? Where are you going to be delivering it? And how is it going to meet that need or solve that problem within your community? And then the third question is, why are you best placed to deliver that project? So that would be a good opportunity to talk about where you're based, the work that you've done before, and the types of people that you're going to be engaging with. And that's a really good place to put in a bit of information about if you're going to be working with SNG customers. That's probably the best fit, I think, the best place to put that information in. So we've had quite a lot of questions recently where groups have asked, well, I'm working within a community where there are SNG homes, I know there are SNG customers, does that make me eligible for the fund? And the answer that we're giving is yes, it does make you eligible for the fund, which is great, but it would really strengthen your application if you can put somewhere within the main body of the pitch how you're going to be engaging the customers, or whether you know you have SNG customers taking part in your project already, or attending your group, or they are attending another project that you're running, and you know that they'll be interested in attending this project. So that's where you kind of really evidence that information, and that is a key criteria that we would look at when we're shortlisting and assessing applications. And then Deborah, if you could just go on to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, so support from SNG. So as a grants team, we can offer support whilst you're applying. So I think in the first instance, I would recommend having a good look at our application guidance. So we've got some really detailed application guidance on our webpage. So if you go onto the Thriving Communities webpage and then you select the type of grant that you want, so you've got strengthening place or skills and learning, on the right hand side is where you'll find the application guidance, and within that it will give you top tips for completing an application. We've got some example answers in there to those 3 main questions, which are really helpful to read, and things like an example budget we have included in there, just to give you an idea of how to set out a budget, so that we can really understand what is being applied for. And then in terms of the SNG community, so like Deborah has said, it's really important that you're aware about, you know, whether you are based within an SNG community. We have created with our data team this lovely map. So the link is there. We won't click on it at the moment, but if you have time, I would really recommend clicking on that. You can then zoom in really far to like the road level, and you'll see pins as to where our homes are. So that's a really good, easy way of finding out whether you're in an SNG community, whether there are homes situated close by, and having a think about how you are able to engage those SNG customers. And I think within that map you can also search by town, village, or postcode, so you can really drill down to that information. But if you get stuck and you have any questions, then do feel free to get into contact with us, and we can give you a hand with that. And then support with your application. So the grants team are on hand to support you with your application. If you've got any questions around eligibility, then do feel free to get in contact with us. If you've got any questions around Action Funder, if we can answer it, we will. But if we get stuck, we'll then signpost you to Action Funder, who are really great. They're really helpful, and they get back to you really quickly. So they'll be able to walk you through any Action Funder related questions as well. And then next page, thank you. Okay, so decisions and next steps. So like we said, we'll prioritise projects that evidence how they'll engage with SNG communities and customers, and then how their project meets the fund priorities. If you apply and you are shortlisted, your project will be reviewed by our panel and then scored against our assessment criteria. We will also consider staff vote. So before we go to panel, the shortlisted projects will go out to staff to vote for their sort of favourite projects based on their local knowledge of what is needed for our customers in that area. And we're also looking at opening this out to SNG customers as well, which we are really looking forward to. And then that vote contributes towards the scoring process and decision making as well, so that will be weighted. We will then notify groups who are successful. We'll be able to provide feedback to unsuccessful shortlisted projects. So if your project is shortlisted, it goes to panel, but it's not successful, we'll let you know and we'll be able to provide some feedback. If you are not successful, you haven't been shortlisted, we won't automatically be able to provide you feedback just because we have so many matches, so many applications. We just wouldn't have capacity to do that. But if you do get an email to say that you weren't successful and you would really like some feedback, then please do feel free to get in touch and we will provide that. And then if you're successful, groups will receive ongoing support and communication from the grants team. And then if we just hop on to the next slide, thank you. Okay, so what will we need from you? So we will obviously need you to register with the Action Funder platform if you haven't done already, and create a project on there to be able to match with our fund. All of the sort of due diligence processes are carried out by Action Funder. If you are shortlisted and are successful at panel, we will offer the funding via the Action Funder platform. You will then have the opportunity to accept or decline the funding. If you accept it, then there is usually around a 2-week wait for that funding to get to you, and that's where Action Funder will be completing the due diligence process. But what I will say is that the length of time kind of depends on how quickly you're able to get back to them. So they might come to you and ask for certain bits of information. If you get back to them quickly, the process goes a bit quicker, but if there is a huge delay in you getting back to them, then it could be longer than those 2 weeks before you receive the payment. So I just wanted to flag that now so that you're aware that you just kind of need to be on it, checking your emails and checking your Action Funder platform, just so that we can get that process going as quick as possible. And then good communication. So we really love to hear about how the project is going. It's really nice when you're able to share updates on the Action Funder platform. We can then share those internally and let staff know a bit about the projects that have been funded and how they're going, and we can share these externally as well, which is really lovely. And we've also had groups kind of provide an update on there if things haven't been going so well, they've encountered any issues, and then we've been able to try and support with that kind of where possible. So yeah, updates are really helpful, and we really love to hear about the work that you're doing. In terms of reporting, it's really important that you're able to meet our reporting requirements. They are a light touch mid-project update and then an end of project report. You'll be notified about all of that through the Action Funder platform, so you won't hear about that directly from us. It will all come through Action Funder, so I'd just say keep an eye on there in terms of the notifications that you get about when it's time to report. Obviously, we'd just really love to hear about how the project has gone, what's gone well, but also we have a requirement to report to our board about how the funding is being distributed. So it's just really helpful to get that information so that we can do that, and then it allows us to continue to invest in local communities each year. So it is really important to our SNG communities. And the next slide, please, Deborah. Oh, fab. So these are all the links that we thought would be helpful at this point. So you've got our email address here, so the grants email address. So if you've got any questions around specific eligibility, communities, anything that you're not clear from after today, then please do get in touch. That is a link to our Thriving Communities webpage, and then from there you can access the 2 separate web pages for Strengthening Place and Skills and Learning grants for further information. And then these at the bottom there, they're the Action Funder fund pages. So if you want to go directly to the fund pages, you can click on those links, but those links are also available on our SNG webpage as well. So whichever one you kind of click on, it should all take you to the right place and you'll go to the Action Funder fund page. If you go to the SNG webpage though, that's where you'll find all of the information, the application guidance and FAQs. So that's probably the best one to go to in the first instance. And then I think that's it from me, but we have plenty of time for questions. So if anyone's got any questions, feel free to raise your hand or stick something in the chat. I haven't been keeping an eye on it.
We've got a couple in the chat, Amy. I'm happy to go through them. So we've got one around, I've checked if there is an SNG community near our project, and there is, but how do we know if a service user is an SNG customer? So this is a really good question, and I think when we say about benefiting SNG customers, we recognise that it's really difficult for some groups to understand whether those accessing their project or their service, whether they are SNG customers or not. Some of our past funded groups absolutely do know, potentially like some of food pantries, for instance, or sort of youth projects, youth centres. They have quite a good idea of kind of those that access it, but it's not something that we ask people to report on. I think what I would say is that if your project or your service is operating in an SNG community, we really need to understand how that will be that project will be accessible and available to SNG customers. Potentially, how would you work with us to promote that project? So if it was a youth club, for instance, and we had homes kind of near that youth club, how would you make that accessible? How would you promote that to SNG customers? But we do recognise that it's a bit of a tricky question, and we certainly wouldn't want it to be a barrier in terms of people accessing a project. We obviously can't share customer data, and we wouldn't ask you to share kind of specific customer data with us. But obviously, if you did have an idea of how many SNG customers access the project, that's really interesting for us to know, but we wouldn't kind of specifically ask that. So I hope that answers your question, but obviously if not, please do pop your hand up or reach out to us on the grants email. So we've got a question around, do applications have to be for a time limited project, or can it be towards a long-term goal? And I think that was the same. I think we've got two questions that are similar. So projects funding needs to be spent and delivered within 12 months. So yeah, we are looking to fund projects that are then delivered within a 12-month project, a 12-month time span. So hopefully that answers your question, Tracy and Johnny. And then we've got another question from Tina. So can grants be used for specific groups such as just children? So yeah, they can be for just children or just older people. We're really kind of keen to see how projects can connect whole communities, but we also do fund projects that are specific on a cohort or an age group. But again, just very much kind of we would want to understand how those children can access that project and how that would be made available to kind of those children living within those SNG communities.
Any other questions?
And do feel free to pop your hand up if you want to come on camera. Don't think we have any more. No. Oh. Tracy, so can the project grant be used as a bursary fund to allow access? So that's interesting. I would say, Tracy, we'd really like to hear a bit more around what that is. So do email us on grants on the grants at SNG email, which you'll get after this webinar. I don't want to say.
I can say no if you like. It was just to sort of, we're in an area where we've got a new development, and we're growing. We're a scout group and we're growing, and we're having to grow because of the new development. And we know there are SNG properties within that area, but it might be that some of them won't access us because of the cost. So the thought was, can the grant be used to encourage those sorts of people to come and join us as a group, to then ensure they can access what we're offering?
Yeah, so I think it potentially could. I would still say, obviously not knowing where you're based in the community, it would be really useful just to drop us a quick email just so that we can have a look at where you are. But yeah, potentially we can do that. But again, I think we would probably just have to have a discussion around those bursary places and how we can really make sure that they are promoted to SNG sort of communities and customers so that they would benefit from that. But potentially yes, but it'd be good just to have a little bit of a chat on that, Tracy, if that's okay. If you don't mind, just ping us a quick email after the call and we'll get in touch with you.
Okay, thanks.
We've got a question from Tina about the constitution. Okay, yeah, so the project won't be religious. So no, so essentially what we can't fund are kind of activities that are solely kind of political or religious in nature. We can fund organisations that are kind of religious in nature, so that's fine, but what we would want to understand is how that project would be accessible to kind of the wider community. So that shouldn't be a problem at all, Tina, but again, if you're unsure, please do ping us an email and we can have a chat with you, and obviously not knowing your organisation, we can yeah, have a look at that. Any more questions? Can't see anyone else with their hands up. But the one thing I'd say is that you've got lots of time. The fund is going to be open, you know, hopefully until the end of January. So obviously we know that the first sort of open window is quite short, and we'll be reviewing in August, but there's lots of time. So please do, if you're not sure, we'd really like to kind of chat through with you, you know, before you apply, if you've got any queries. Kate, so can you reapply if you get rejected? Yes, you can reapply. I guess the one thing I'd say is to obviously have a chat with us first before reapplying, so that we can obviously have a conversation about why you're unsuccessful and how we can maybe support you with your application, or potentially, you know, obviously if you were rejected for a specific reason or you weren't eligible, then obviously we wouldn't want you to reapply and waste your time. But obviously, yeah, happy to have a conversation with you about why you're rejected and potentially how we can sort of support you to change your application, or yeah, make tweaks. Charlotte, can we send you an email with our idea prior to applying? Yes, you can. That's absolutely fine. And as Deborah said earlier in the call, we've got community investment and partnership leads in kind of all of our localities. So what we'd probably do is work with you and that sort of community investment and partnership lead to have a chat about your idea and how it could fit within what else is happening within that community, and then we can provide advice before you apply. So absolutely, yeah, please do email us. And the one thing we would say, please do bear with us. We do say that we try and respond within 5 working days, and we do generally, when funds open, get a lot of inquiries. So please do just bear with us and give us a few days to be able to come back to you with a meaningful response. So just so you know, we have received them, but obviously at certain times of the year, like now, we will receive a lot of inquiries, so just bear with us. I think that's it, Deborah and Amy. Yeah.
And we will be sending out later today, so we'll send you out a copy of the presentation, all the relevant links, our email address, so that you can get in contact with us. So that will come with all the information. And if you have any questions after that, please just drop us a line and we'll be happy to answer them. Oh,
None about the microphone.
Hi everyone. Hi, I'm B. I'm from Action Funder. I just wanted to say a quick hello and thank you, ladies, from SNG for today. It's very, very helpful. But yeah, just to say to everyone who is signing up and applying for Action Funder, if there's anything you need, there's a help centre via your dashboard, and we can help with any kind of platform related questions or issues. Feel free to get in touch, and it will probably be me getting back to you as soon as I can. So yeah, good luck.
Thanks, B.
Privacy microphone.
Lovely. I think that's it. Just want to say thank you so much, everybody, for coming and taking the time out of your day to come listen to get some more information about the Thriving Communities Fund, and hopefully we should be reading your applications very soon. As Deborah said, we're going to be sending out some further information, but if you have any questions, do feel free to get in touch.
Thanks all. Nice to see you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.